All right, everybody, we're back. Brand new Cabral Concept. So glad you could join me here today on our Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday, where the topic is why weight loss becomes so frustrating. You might be saying to yourself, I already know why it becomes so frustrating, but here I want to share with you how it gets deeper and why it becomes so frustrating, meaning you're not getting the results that you're looking for. So I've seen this in my practice over and over. It happens the same with health, meaning improving your health as well as falling out of health. And that is that weight loss doesn't usually fail all in one day, meaning that you'll lose, like if you're on a good program, you're probably going to lose 2 to 3% of your body weight the first week. So if you're 200 pounds, you can easily lose 5 pounds your first week. That's no problem at all. Most people will see that, on a functional medicine detox or a fat loss program or a GLP-1 tone program, whatever it might be. And then after that, you might lose like 2%. So you might lose 4 pounds or so the next week. And then after that, you start to drop down to that 1 to 2% range. And so you're like, oh, at 200 pounds, 2 pounds to 3 pounds or so. And then after that, you're looking at about 1.5 to 2.5 pounds, like every single week at about 1% of your body weight. So that's totally normal, right? But eventually you start to see yourself coming to the plateau. You don't just like go from losing 2 pounds a week to like not losing anything. You go from 2 pounds a week and then it becomes like 1.2 pounds and then it becomes like 0.5 pounds, and then you might be at 0.2 pound loss, and then it just plateaus, right? Like that, from doing this forever, I can assure you literally for 30 years, I can tell you right now, that is how it typically happens. Unless you went on a really crazed diet, which again, some people do, and I totally get it, I totally understand it. It usually doesn't just stop. It stops when you shift back, or eventually the plan that you're on, you've been doing it for, weeks and weeks and weeks. It has an end point. I talked about this a lot on Monday's show, like on the Mindset and Motivation Monday, where you're doing everything right, but not achieving your goal. Well, a lot of this is the same thing. It absolutely is the most prevalent with weight loss. It literally is, because what you're doing gets you to a certain point and you're feeling good in the beginning. And then why don't you feel good towards the end of the plateau? Because you're still doing the same work, but you're not getting the same results. That's what leads to the frustration. So then you ask yourself, I am doing the same work, so why aren't I losing any more weight? And that's where the frustration, of course, sets in. And so then what is the next thing that most people do? Most people quit. They stop because they say, what is the point of me putting in all of this work if I'm not going to get the results and I'm just going to be at a standstill? Now, remember, if you quit at that moment and you had already lost 15 to 20 pounds, what's going to happen? Are you going to gain them back that 15 to 20 pounds, oftentimes more, right? Because if you're not doing the strength training along with it, what happened? You lost some muscle mass. You lost some bone mass. That's not coming back. It's honestly not, unless you start with weight training again, or just in general. Here's the other issue. If you used a GLP-1, not the natural version, like a GLP-1 tone system, but you use a synthetic, what's going to happen? Well, rapid weight gain and more, because you lost that weight was 20 to 30% at least muscle and bone mass, right? So even worse. So that's why what I'm saying is, even though you're frustrated right now with lack of results, don't stop, because you've achieved a certain level, which is allowing you to maintain maybe that 15 to 20 pounds off. But now here's what we need to do. I know it's frustrating, and I know you're asking, why isn't it working anymore? What we need to do is understand, one, you're not lazy. You're also not doing anything wrong. You were doing exactly what you needed to and what you were told to get to this specific point. But no one has explained yet how then to break past this plateau and get to that level, that next level. So let's explain exactly why this happens, then of course what to do about it. I'm going to give you 5 main points, then I'm going to do kind of a rapid fire for the last 5, because I want to give you, I like to give, like always, again, most things are overcome in about 5 reasons or so. I'm going to give you really the top 5 right now. Because like that's what matters the most. The first one is this, is that weight loss is confusing to a lot of people because they don't realize the body adapts faster than most people's plan. And what I mean by that is that if you put less calories in your body's going to say, oh, okay, what's going on here? Losing weight. Okay. Oh, we're not getting any more calories. I'm going to lower the metabolic rate. Thyroid becomes a little bit slower, right? What happens is you're going to produce most likely less testosterone, less DHEA, and you are going to then need less calories on a daily basis. Your body lowered its thermostat. It lowered its metabolic rate. So what that means is you're going to lose less weight because maybe previously before your metabolic rate was 2,000 calories per day. Like that allowed you to eat 2,000 calories, or let's say this, 2,000 calories was your baseline. You only took in 1,500 to 1,600. And what that enabled you to do was lose about a pound or so a week. Okay, so now your body has lowered that now to 1,600 calories that you need per day. So now you eat the 1,600 calories or the 1,500 and you lose 0.2 pounds or nothing at all, right? So your body simply adapted to the lower consumption of all overall calories. Now, this just again, before, there's again, the critics out there, most people are not under eating. Totally get it. If you're eating 4,000 calories a day, we want to reduce calories. Now, we don't need to do it drastically, but certainly we want to reduce calories. But once you start teetering around that 1,500 calories, we're pretty low. So eating less is going to lower your metabolic rate in the long term. In the short term, sure, if you drop your calories down to 600 to 800 calories a day, you'll continue to lose more weight. But what happens when you raise it again? That weight's coming back. No doubt about it. And you're hurting your metabolism, right? So what we have to understand is that even with perfect compliance, weight loss is going to stall if it's not on a plan designed for the long term as well. That's my issue with a lot of these keto diets, et cetera. You're going to keep a keto diet going for the rest of your life, right? It's like, is that the goal? I don't know. I don't even think that that's the best overall health-wise, unless you're dealing with maybe a specific type of brain-based cancer, et cetera, that's going to be beneficial for you. There at least has to be a long-term goal. Number two, the second reason I want to give you is that stress overrides fat loss signals. This is extremely important. If chronic stress is elevating cortisol, as I've shared before, is going to protect fat storage. It does so in some very interesting ways. And especially, I went over this, I think just last Wednesday, and you can check it out at stephencabral.com/podcast. It actually increases visceral body fat as well as subcutaneous body fat as well. So like the two types of belly fat that we don't necessarily want. And it does so by creating and increasing environmental-based estrogen, endogenous production inside of the body, or not eliminated as well. And it keeps blood sugar levels elevated. So if blood sugar levels stay elevated, what happens? You're not going to be tapping into body fat as much. Like that's just the truth, right? That's the physiology of the body. When our sugars stay higher, we need them lower in order to tap into body fat breakdown, right? Breaking down adipose tissue. So it's extremely important that us getting even more stressed about this is not improving it, right? And that's why sleep sometimes becomes so important. All right. Number three is this. Progress becomes invisible. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but when we start to see the scale not responding, right? Because that's how a lot of people are measuring their fat loss, which a better indicator might be body fat percentage or inches or how clothes fit. But again, different strokes for different folks. And I don't want to tell you how to go about your body transformation journey. That's not my job. I simply want to provide the knowledge, the background, and share with you what I've seen work over the past 30 years or so. But I do think that the scale becomes a really poor metric as you're getting down to the last 10 pounds or so of weight loss that you have to go, because you want to boost overall muscle and metabolism. Those are the things that are going to fire up your ability to eat more calories and burn more body fat. Because ultimately, do you care about the number on the scale, which nobody else is going to see except you, or do you care about the overall health-based benefits? That's why this is Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday, and the overall body transformation, right? That's our goal. We know that improving your waist-to-hip ratio is an improver of essentially all the main causes for mortality in terms of your vascular-based disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, and more. So really important, okay? The next one I want to go over is most people, when it comes to weight loss, have, and erroneously so, been taught to blame themselves. So they're meeting with their personal trainer, they're meeting with their nutritionist, they're meeting with whoever. They come in, they step on the scale, and they haven't lost any weight. Now they're feeling disappointed in themselves. They're feeling disappointed they disappointed their personal trainer or their coach, and they're embarrassed. And they just say to themselves, well, I must not have tried hard enough. I must not have been disciplined enough, or whatever it might be, right? They always think about that little slip up that happened. But as I've shared with you before, you really only need to be 80 to 90% on point for your plan. Most humans, not only do they do better with 1 to 2 flex meals a week, I'm not talking about 8,000 calories at a meal, right? I'm talking about like enjoying a meal once a week or twice a week, at least a day or two apart. that actually is an improvement for typically cortisol levels, leptin and ghrelin levels, which are hunger hormones and cravings, as well as signals to tell the body to start burning body fat. I've almost never seen anybody not improve with doing that as well. So really important that we look at that fact as well, is that the blame, we typically blame ourselves when truthfully, what we need to do is this last reason, we need a new formulated plan, right? So whenever it comes to a plateau in weight loss, it's like, sure, we can continue to blame the body. Where is that going to get us? We could continue to eat less. If you're already under 1,600 calories, where's that going to get us, right? Do you need to add in more movement? That is a question. Are you walking 7,500 to 10,000 steps a day? Don't even tell me about your cardio or your 5K yet. Are you just walking 7,500 to 10,000 steps per day? Because if not, we start there. Then we're going to get into some body weight training. We're going to start to move in that direction. And yes, we do want to do that. Why? Because it's good for overall health and longevity, and it improves blood sugar levels, and it improves fat loss. So yes, that's part of the next stage of the plan. And then after that, if you got those two down pat, amazing. What do we need to do next? Next, we're going to look at hormones. That's typically what is the next thing. And I'm not talking about just estrogen, progesterone, or testosterone. I'm talking about cortisol, which is the thing that imbalances the sex hormones and the thyroid, right? So like we need to look at that. That's our next step to look at. We typically run the stress, mood, and metabolism test. You can run that with your integrative health practitioner, with an Equilife coach, with a local naturopathic doctor who specializes in it, whatever you want to do, right? But it's called the stress, mood, and metabolism test. We need to look at that as the next level, but you might not even be ready for that yet. So it's like, have you got the nutrition dialed in? Did you start with the 21-day functional medicine detox? Are you now doing like the MetaVolve program? Are you starting to get in your steps? Like do all those things first. And then you're like, oh, I plateaued. Okay, but you lost 15 or 20 pounds. Great work. Like maybe nobody's saying great work to you. Great work. It's not easy to lose 15 to 20 pounds. I know this for a fact. Like it is not easy to lose that weight, especially if you've been struggling with it for years. So excellent job. Now maintain that for a moment. Let's get to the next level. Let's get to the bottom of this. There's always an answer. Why? Literally always an answer. If I can overcome autoimmune issues and type 2 diabetes, Addisons disease, all sorts of health issues, and other people can as well, obviously it's not just me, then you can overcome this weight loss issue, right? Because it's an imbalance in the body. And I know that you can do this. And you're not the first person to have to go through this challenge. That's the other thing, is that there are many other people just like you. So just understand that this isn't just you in a silo, not to make you feel worse or better, but it's just to let you know that this isn't a you problem. This is a many person problem. And a lot of people are struggling in this particular area. So I get it. I understand why you are frustrated, but understand that plateaus do happen. Our job then is to say, okay, I get it. This is why it's frustrating for myself and many other people. And just continuing to blunt object, drive forward, head against the wall is probably not going to get me to where I want to go. So now what we need to do is listen to the body, listen to the feedback. Are you sleeping enough? If no, believe it or not, you need to do that to lower cortisol and stress levels, right? Re-regulate those thyroid levels. Sure, there's great supplements out there, but it's not going to override cortisol and thyroid if your body's not sleeping. So let's get you to sleep. Let's get you getting good quality sleep. Let's balance those blood sugar levels. And then let's listen to the body. Again, work with a good coach, work with a good practitioner, listen to your body, understand what your body needs for that next level. And then knowledge is truly power. Because you're like, oh, I had no idea that my cortisol levels were elevated at night. I had no idea that my free T3 was low. I had no idea that I had low vitamin D of a 36 because my doctor always said 36 was fine for a level. And so then once you know, you're like, oh, that's amazing. Every time in my 20s when I was seeing different practitioners, they would teach me just a new little piece to that puzzle. Just one little piece every month or so, I would see a new practitioner always looking for that next thing. I was like, oh, wow, this is really motivating. It gives me hope. And you're going to have the same thing. Your frustration will lead to hope once you have new knowledge. That knowledge allows you then to take new actions, which leads to progress, right? Progress. And that leads to then renewed motivation because you see that scale or the close or the inches moving again in the direction that you want. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, if we can ever be of help, you just let me know. Literally, leave me a direct message, leave my team a comment, ask@stephencabral.com/askcabral. Whatever you need, we're here to support you. All the show notes from today will be at stephencabral.com/3680. And of course, do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, buddy. I'll talk with you tomorrow.